It's 2014 at a voting station in Kabul, Afghanistan. A female UN peacekeeper is waiting in the rain alongside 250 Afghan women with their babies as they line up to freely cast their vote in an election. From the corner of her eye, Amandine Roche notices something suspicious. The person beside her looks like a man disguised as a woman, and under his jacket, he's hiding something. Amandine suddenly has the sickening realization that she's face to face with a suicide bomber.
I knew I couldn't go back.
Changes your
You just
life.
put it out there.
She said you've got less than a year to live.
Just dug even
Luck
deeper.
is the residue of design.
Nobody else was doing it, so why couldn't I?
That was the turning point.
Welcome to the BUCKiT podcast with Phil Keoghan. Every week I talk to mavericks, disruptors, and innovators. People who ditch the excuses, swerve off the predictable road, and epitomize what it means to tick it before you kick it.
When I faced his eyes, I saw hell in his eyes. It was completely another world. Like, I saw terror. Obviously, he was not working for Independent Electoral Commission. He managed to get a jacket to pretend to be official, but he was not. And I face him. I look at him in the eyes, horrible eyes, full of hatred, terror, and I see lost. Literally, I saw hell on earth.
French-born Amandine Roche is a human rights lawyer and peacekeeper for the United Nations. Her work has taken her all over the world, but her primary focus has been on a country she's been evacuated from 4 times. It's here in war-torn Afghanistan that Amandine has faced a suicide bomber, the pain of her colleagues being kidnapped and murdered, and years of turmoil, terror, and trauma that have engulfed a country and people that she loves so much. Yet despite witnessing the horrors of the conflict firsthand and being personally affected, her resolve to find peaceful solutions is stronger than ever. Realizing that not just her co-workers but also Afghans suffer from depression and anxiety, Amandine now teaches meditation to both sides and surprisingly directly to some members of the Taliban. She's also created the Inner Peacekeeping Program for humanitarians on the front lines to help prevent PTSD, burnout, and depression, and is currently building the Inner Peace Corps organization to heal the invisible wounds of war and restore human dignity to female refugees. This is the incredible story of how one person's deep personal pain turned her life around and led her down a new path to building peace and conflict resolution. Okay, we're going to have a wonderful little chat here.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for coming in.
No, thank you for inviting.
And I'm definitely looking forward to our chat because what you do is quite unusual. And I think the other great thing about being able to talk to you is to maybe get a better understanding of so many things that we don't understand, and maybe a different perspective of another part of the world that we see pretty much only in one light. Because when we see Afghanistan on TV, it's generally what's going wrong because it makes news.
Yeah.
So I guess the best place to start is if you can tell us who you are and what you do for a living.
I'm a free spirit.
Yes.
Yes, who wants to go deep within to figure out who I am.
Yeah.
And to serve better the world, to increase the level of consciousness and to heal as much as I can. But who I am, well, I had many hats in the past, for sure, many identities. I started more like at the beginning kind of a journalist, but with my studies I become human rights expert, woman empowerment expert with United Nations and with European Commission. So it was my job, actually, to work on peace process and to wake up a population and make awareness program, campaign program, just to wake up a woman, mainly in Afghanistan, just to give them the right to become a leader, to become, we were helping them on becoming civic educators or senators or deputy. And that was mainly my job, actually.
Coming from France,
Yes.
You were born where in the Burgundy region?
No, I was born outside Paris. You know,
outside Paris.
You know Chartres, the cathedral?
Yes, in the south of just south.
West, in the west side of, on the way to Normandy.
Okay.
Yes,
yes,
on the way to
place.
Normandy. So close by Chartres, the famous cathedral.
Yes.
Yes.
And then how did your life evolve from there? Where did you go
I study law, international law, human rights, political science, and a master degrees in international relations.
Wow. And where did the passion for that come from? Like, why did you want to study that?
Yeah, actually, my mom is a political refugee from Poland.
Okay.
And I realized when I was a young girl, she threw within me the seed of human rights. She always brought me to Amnesty International gathering, make me write letters for political prisoners. And also, I have to say, when I was 14, we went to Poland to visit my family, and it was still under the Soviet Union, and it was under communism. And all my family were telling me, you are so lucky, you were born in democracy, you were born in France. Do you realize how lucky you are? And of course I was not aware.
Yeah,
I was not aware of that. For me, it's normal actually to have free access to everything, freedom of movement, freedom of expression. But by observing and witnessing their life, they were surgeons, they were medical doctors living in a small flat with a ratio ticket for 1 kg of meat per week. And I realized, oh yeah, I'm lucky actually. And so I start to go more on social justice, studying Gandhi, Mandela. So when I decided to do some studies, I said, well, he has to go, I want to become a lawyer, yeah? And
so you can have some power to affect some change.
Yes, exactly. And at least to contribute to democracy in the world. I was not really aware of that, but I understand now that's my past was already written, kind of, from the background of my family. And what changed my life is when I started to study law, at 18, the Dalai Lama came to my university and he spoke about the violation of human rights in Tibet. And it was very, very tipping point in my life, because I can say now, it changed my life, yeah.
And this is 18 years old. You have a chance to listen to the Dalai Lama himself.
He came to literally, I took my ticket, there was a poster, they said today Dalai Lama is coming. I took my ticket. And what was very funny, when I took my ticket, my seat was, I guess, number 70, and I sit down, but my seat was in the middle of all the Tibetan monks. So the guy who organized, he said, you should better move, that's not your seat. And the Tibetan monk next to me, he said, no, that's her seat, she should stay. So I stayed. So I was a blonde girl in the middle of all the Tibetan monk. And when the Dalai Lama came into the room, he said hi to the Tibetan monk, and he looked at me and said, ha, 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 like with a contagious smile. And he blessed me. I didn't know at this time. But I realized he did something big, because, I received a blessing without knowing it was a blessing at this time, but a blessing for go on this path, my girl, kind of. Yeah.
Not many people can say that they first of all get that kind of blessing, but second of all that they have that influence so early in life.
Yes.
So this understanding the lessons of non-violence to create peace. So I have some wonderful quotes from you about what you talk about with non-violence. Had you learned about other leaders like Martin Luther King, who talked about peace through non-violence, or Gandhi, and were those people that you studied as a young girl growing up?
Yes. So my hero on non-violence is Abdul Ghaffar Khan, called Bacha Khan. He's the best friend of Gandhi.
Yes.
Abdul Ghaffar Khan was a Pashtun Gandhi, Afghan Gandhi. So at the same time as Gandhi was fighting the British Empire in India.
This is back in the 40s.
In 40s, exactly. At the same time, in the Pashtun area of Afghanistan, Abdul Ghaffar Khan was fighting the British Empire. And he rose an army of 200,000 non-violent soldiers of Islam who were resisting in a non-violent way the British Empire. So when you ask Gandhi who is your hero, he always say, my friend Abdul Ghaffar Khan.
Yeah, and why is it that we don't know him, and why was Gandhi the person that we all know and
yes, you're right, because time? Afghanistan is all about war, and we don't think that can emerge such a luminous spirit, I guess, from this country.
When you speak to people who have been to Afghanistan and you hear them talk about the people, they talk about how beautiful the country is.
Yes.
The mountains, how beautiful the mountains are, and the people.
Yes.
There's a lot of misconceptions about who the Afghanistan people are, or
Yes.
what they're about. They forget
Yes.
that America was fighting on their side at one point, right, in the
Yes.
80s.
Yes.
So what do we not know about Afghanistan that we should know?
You know, it's interesting because you're from New Zealand.
Yes.
And as you, I love traveling.
Yeah.
So I ask many people, like world traveler, I ask them, who is the most beautiful country on earth? So for the traveler who travel in 80s, 70s, 80s, all of them, without consulting, say Afghanistan.
I've heard it from many people I know who rode motorbikes through Afghanistan.
Yes.
And through the Himalayas, and they said,
Yes.
you have never seen such a beautiful country.
Yes.
But it's interesting, even though I have not been to Afghanistan, I've been to over 130 countries, but it's interesting that as soon as I hear Afghanistan in my head,
Yes.
the first image that comes to mind is somebody with a gun and war. I can't see past that, only because every time I hear it, it's always, the country is always associated with war in my head.
They are very, very, very incredible people, resilient people, hospitable people, brave, loyal. I mean, you name it. It's like
But why do we
virtuous.
not know any of this,
Yeah.
of what you're talking about? And I can't doubt you because you
I
know.
Yeah.
But-
I feel, media, news, focus only on the dark side of Afghanistan, where humanitarian like me and my colleague, we see the beauty and the light of this country, which is not only the beautiful landscape, but also the people. I felt fully alive when I'm in Afghanistan because, well, I'm a human rights lawyer, so it's a place, it's a perfect playground for me.
Mhm.
But not only that, the people, like they look at you. I believe they speak the language of the heart, and it's a language we've forgotten in our society right now. They are not in their head. They are very authentic, and they look at you and spoke at you soul to soul, not head to head.
Tell us the first trip that you had to Afghanistan. What brought you there, what your mission was, why you went, what drew you there?
It was my second assignment with United Nations. I was working with UNICEF. And at this time, there was a crisis. The Taliban went on the north of Afghanistan.
So your role, the official title was what?
I was at the beginning implementing a well-being program for kids,
Okay.
but because of a crisis, and my boss saw I'm also a photographer, he said, well, we have to help all this wave of refugees coming to Tajikistan.
Mm-hmm.
And the Tajik government was so scared of infiltration of the Taliban among the refugees, so they decided to put a lot of Russian tanks at the border to not allow the refugee to come inside the country. So the poor refugee cross the Amudarya River to enter into Tajikistan, and they face a wall of Russian tank. So they have to land on 2 islands on the Amudarya, and these 2 islands were full of landmine because it's a no man's land. And so with UNICEF, I was working with UNICEF at this time, we took a UN car to bring food, blanket, tent, vaccination for the kids. And my boss asked me to come to help and to take picture for fundraising and do a donor appeal. And I remember when he said, come with me, I was like, no way, I don't want to go to such a war zone, because I know from the other side of Afghanistan there was bullets. I mean, the Taliban were shooting Kalashnikov on them, and the other side was landmine. I said, why should I put myself in such a hell? And I went and I found paradise. I felt like finally I found my people, and it was so much joy to meet them, because you can imagine these people completely broken, completely miserable. I mean, look at the situation. It was winter. There was 40 people died on the island, like literally. And they welcome us like nothing happened. Like, why I love them? They are here and now. There is no past, no future. They just fully, their presence. They are here and now.
I'm wondering if you can give people some perspective to give some understanding to people who don't know, they can't point Afghanistan out on a map. A lot of people can't, say, okay, that's where Afghanistan is. They think of Afghanistan, they think of terrorism, they think of war, they think of
Yes,
fighting.
yes.
They don't see what you've just described to
Yeah.
us. Can you explain to us who the Taliban are?
Taleb means the scholar of Islam, so the one who studied the Quran.
Yes.
That's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
But it became a regime in 1996 after the end of Mujahideen, supported by the American. I remember Madeleine Albright at
Yeah.
this time. She said Taliban are a big progress for Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So they
And
empower
they
them.
funded them with arms, and
Yes.
they wanted them to be able to push back against the Russians at this time,
Exactly.
which is a part of history that a lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
That
So
we were
that's
literally
the
putting
reason.
arms in their hands.
Exactly. So that's the beginning of the
Yes.
Taliban regime. But when American asked Mullah Omar to do some compromise, and deal with them, they said no. And so we started to point out all the human rights violation, all women disempowerment, and all of this. I'm not a lawyer of Taliban, but there is some balance to be made as well in the story. I met many moderate Taliban who love their girl and put them in school, and it was not like only the dark devil side. Plus they empower the Taliban, so yeah. And Afghan people are just very poor people and genuine, and yes, just want to take care of a family.
How do you find peace in a place where there is this miscommunication or there's a misunderstanding about exactly what's going on?
Yes.
I mean, as somebody who advocates for peace, how do we find peace?
Yes. Will peace is here and now. Will peace start within. Will peace is meet your monkey mind, meet your mental, and connect with your heart. So if you spend more than $1 trillion in Afghanistan in war, obviously you're not going to bring peace. You cannot bring peace out of fighting and war. You will never bring peace.
You have some wonderful quotes, and this quote says, Afghanistan is sick of violence, the world is sick of violence, humankind is sick of violence, but violence is not a fatality. If we want non-violence, we have to heal humankind from the disaster of violence. We can give our children the hope of non-violence in order for them to live together in the world, right? So I guess your message is find peace from within.
The only focus you have to do is on yourself. Like, just focus on, and it's not selfish, but just manage to first tame your mind from the negative thought, from the inner turmoil, and you will find peace within, and by finding peace within, you will radiate from outside, and it will impact your family. And even your family will feel a change, will get inspired by you to do the same. And by changing your family, you will change the community. And by changing the community, you will change the village, the city, the country, and change the world. It's all start by yourself within. I'll give you another example. A famous commander, Taliban commander in Afghanistan, he came to my office to complain about election, and we talk about what is real peace. And I asked him if he meditates, and he said no, but he was willing to, because I was so surprised. He said, I saw your profile on Wikipedia. You were a Mujahideen, you were with bin Laden, and now you want to be a parliamentarian. There is something I don't understand, why you shift and want to become Democrat. And he told me, I want to become Democrat because my daughter is bullied in school because her father is a former criminal. And I don't want she just keep this image of me. I feel bad. I feel shameful. And I say, yeah, do you want to learn meditation? He said, sure, come in my house. So he invited me in his house.
You're kidding.
And I taught him meditation. And after 30 minutes, I was so impressed by him, because even 30 minutes is too long for someone who starts meditation for the first time. But because he's pray 5 times a day, he can really connect within. And I can see he went deep because he couldn't even come back when I told him it's over. And he was so at peace and he loved it so much that he asked his girl to come and to learn the meditation. And he asked all his kids, I forgot he had many kids, like 6, 7 kids. So it was so beautiful at the end. I ended up teaching meditation to his kids because he got it. He understood that, yes, we feel good within when we meditate. There is always a solution for everything. There is always redemption. It's not because you've been a criminal for years that you don't have a second chance in life to start from scratch and working for good. And he loves it's so beautiful because he loves so much his daughter that he wanted to become a better man, you see. And not only he got it, he asked me to teach her.
And
yeah.
you've taught people from the Taliban to meditate, correct?
I don't want to speak too much about that because they say, okay. For their security, but I did it. Yeah, I did 101, but it was not my main focus. My main focus was women and kids.
Yes.
So I really focused on women and kids, but I was teaching as well in jail for the juvenile justice, for the young kids who end up in jail, they don't know why. And so by teaching them meditation, they start to realize that yes, they were enrolled in a madrasa, brainwashed completely to become a suicide bomber or to kidnap or whatever. And I didn't judge them. I didn't tell them what you did is wrong. I just taught meditation. And by the end of the meditation, we just did a debriefing. Yeah. And they say, oh, I realized what I did was wrong. That's not good to do that. But they were so brainwashed, but they were sure they're going to have a 72 virgin if they blow themselves up in the middle of a mosque or,
Well, you speak to people like yourself who have seen such atrocities or been connected to people who have lost their lives, or is there a point where everything in life you value everything differently because it just changes your whole perspective? Because I'm just trying to think of what it's like to have lost people that are really close to you, people that you've worked with, and how then you find the strength to carry on. Like you don't just want to just run away and hide somewhere and go back to a nice place in France and escape all of that.
I've been suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder for years by witnessing all this atrocity.
Yes.
I was evacuated 4 times from Afghanistan. First time in 2001. I was detained and exchanged by Taliban before the American bombing. Second time in 2004. 3 of my international colleagues got kidnapped in front of my office. In 2009, 6 of my international colleagues got assassinated in our guest house by the Taliban. And in 2014, I faced a suicide bomber disguised as a woman in a polling station. So definitely it hit myself. And when you suffer of PTSD, you are like 75% dead. What does that mean? Means your soul get out of your body and just don't want to come back. So you, from outside, you look okay because you didn't lose a leg or arm. You still look okay, but inside there is nobody.
You're damaged.
Yes, there is disconnection. In 2004, when I got evacuated for the second time from Afghanistan, I was sent back to Paris because UN were not sure if I might be kidnapped as well because we were working on the counting of a ballot paper and 3 of my colleagues who got kidnapped, they were part of the team. So I was sent back to France and surprisingly my belly became like 3 months pregnant. So everybody
thought you were pregnant?
Congratulate me.
Ah.
I say, well, thank you, but not. And I got worried. I said, what's going on with my belly? So I went to see a doctor and he made biopsy and he said, you know what? I don't know where you were, but you were so stressed that you have kind of ulcer and you start to have like stem cell, on a cancerous cell. So I should give you chemo pill just to kill these cells.
What?
Yes. And I was not 30 years old. And it was such a shock for me to say, how did I manage to have a stomach cancer out of
From
all
worry
this,
and
for
negative energy and
I mean stress.
Yeah.
We were burned out 10 times, and I was, and again, I'm always been intuitive, and I say no. I'm not going to take a chemo. I say no to the cancer. I'm not going to take chemical. A friend of mine offered me to stay in a house in south of France, Marseille, on the beach. And one day I saw Ayurvedic healer, and he put his hand off my belly and literally did like that. I say, where have you been? I can see bombing, assassination, kidnapping. Like, this guy is amazing, like, honestly. He's clairvoyant. He said, you were not in France, obviously. I said, no, I was in Afghanistan. He said, that's what I saw. I saw a land full of sand, a desert. And he said, you know what? You have to come for 3 months every day to do pancha karma and to receive healing. I'm going to massage you with oil. You are going to take these herbs for 3 months treatment. And after 3 months, I received an offer to go back to Afghanistan for the parliamentary election. And I told him I was super happy. I said, I'm going back to Afghanistan. He said, you crazy? I said, what do you mean? He said, I didn't tell you, you are empath personality, empathic. You are like a sponge. So like any empathic people, you are like a vacuum cleaner of just absorbing all the negativity.
You soak everything up.
You suck everything up. So you want to still be a vacuum cleaner of this country? No way, because when you come back, you will be the same.
Yeah.
Say, okay, what should I do? He say, you have to protect yourself. I say, how do I do that? He say, you have to learn how to meditate. I went to Dharamsala, because when he say meditation, I say, wait a minute. Dalai Lama is a master of meditation, right? Mm-hmm. I should better listen to him. So I flew to India, took a bus, 12 hours bus, go to McLeod-Ganj. It was during winter, in February, and went to the Dalai Lama teachings. And it was freezing. We have to bring a blanket and a small radio. It was translating in all the languages. It was his Buddhist talk. But in the middle of a talk, he said, you cannot bring outer peace if you don't focus on your inner peace. And I say, oh my gosh, this is what I needed to hear. Like, this sentence resonates so much within me.
It's like a light bulb went off.
Completely. I say, wait a minute. Who I am to work for peace in the world if I'm not at peace with myself first? I'm a fraud. Who I am to work for United Nations in Afghanistan if I'm destroyed inside, if I'm broken, if I'm burned out, if I'm depressed, if I'm anxious? I should better stay at home. These people don't need me, you know? I can help if I'm healed, because only a healed person can heal. A hurt person can just increase the hurt, right? It makes so much sense. And so I said to UN, you know what? No, I'm not going back. And I've been in India since 1998, twice a year for all the year, every time, yeah. Because it's really my land, kind of. I feel like it's
You feel at home there?
Yes.
I've described it as the most colorful, vibrant, sensory overload place that I have been to on the planet. I can't think of a place that has such an impact on you.
Yes.
Just that sensory overload, right? There's so much happening, the smell, the sights, the colors.
Yes.
And there's something spiritual about that place and the Ganges. And
I took my Bodhisattva vows with Karmapa. Karmapa is the second highest spiritual authority of Tibet, lineage of Kagyupa. The Dalai Lama is from the Gelugpa. I spent time in Sevagram, in Maharashtra, in Gandhi Ashram. This is where I took the non-violent vows. I met Gandhi family as well. And I went to Kerala. I spent 3 months in Amma Ashram.
You know, my dad has just turned 77, and he last year was the first time he found meditation.
Oh,
he was asked to practice some meditation.
yes.
And it really has helped him a lot.
Yeah.
But what I was so impressed about was just at 77 how he was able to, first of all, he was receptive to learning it.
Yes.
But then just how much it has helped him. And I realize, in my life, just how much meditation has helped me, and how many people I know have been helped by meditation.
Yes.
And it's difficult sometimes, when you get really, for whatever reason, worked up. But you've said that meditation is like an inner shower, and I love that analogy. You feel dirty when you don't take a shower for a week, and you feel the same with your mind when you don't meditate. It helps you to purify your mind and get rid of all of that negativity and all of that frustration. I love that, though, because you're so right. If you can clear your head and you can get centered, just how much more powerful you can be externally, right? And to help others.
Indeed, and what I say also about meditation is to tame the monkey mind. So you meet the mental, which is like a monkey, jumping in the past, in the future, and doesn't want to be here and now.
Right here.
But it's only here and now that there is real peace. It's only here and now that's real happiness. So with meditation, you manage to tame the mind, you manage to tame the monkey, you give him a banana, you put it in a cage, cool down, it's okay. And so finally you find your peace.
Yes. You have another wonderful quote. You said, "It is better to believe to try to get rid of the mind of vengeful thoughts than it is to disarm a fighter at gunpoint," which is exactly what you did when you finally returned to Afghanistan in 2014, on the day when Afghani women were about to be voting for the first time.
I was there to monitor the election. It was in March 2014, 5 years ago. And I've been asked to monitor election on the female side. My colleague went to the male side, and I show up at 6 a.m. morning to see if it's well organized and if it's free, fair, democratic, transparent.
And this is part of representing the UN at this point?
Yeah, and I actually at this time my employer was USAID.
Okay.
So I was doing that for the American.
Yeah.
And it was after a week of a lot of turmoil because a friend of mine and colleague died in an attack, and we were targeted by the Taliban in Jalalabad, and we were evacuated by helicopter to Kabul. So I have a week of a lot of turmoil, and I'm very intuitive because of my practice. I feel inside my body if I should do something or not. And when I wake up this morning, I say to my colleague, I have a nightmare last night, we should not go. I feel we will be in the middle of a blast. And his name is Brian, and he say, you know what, I feel the same. I don't feel we should go. I say, well, we don't go. And afterward I say, wait a minute, I've been paid for going on election day. I should go. So I pick up a polling station close by to where I was staying, and we split. He went to the male side, I went to the female side. There was 350 women outside the polling station under the rain, and they come with a baby. Even in my own country, which is a country of human rights, you don't see women under the rain at 6 a.m. going to cast the vote. No, huge turnout. So at least I'm glad I wake up and I went for that. But when I come into the polling station, I just double-check polling booth, polling better, ballot paper. And I took a picture, and literally when I did like that, to take the picture, I felt super bad vibes on this arm. I felt like dark energy, and it reminded me exactly when I went to visit Auschwitz. I went to visit this concentration camp, and I remember when I went to a gas chamber, I felt exactly this type of death, which is death energy actually. And so I felt that, and I turned my head, and when I saw what was going on the left side, I just even can recollect what I saw. I went on survival mode, and the answer is you freeze, you fight, or you flee. And I flee and I run away. I run away. I don't know what I saw, but something scared me so much. And so I ran outside the polling station. And I had a
Did people around you panic when they saw you running?
Yeah, I had a bodyguard.
Yeah.
And because he's a man, he couldn't come inside because he's only female woman allowed inside. So he was waiting for me outside, and he saw me running. So
and he ran out.
He ran after me. He said, "What's going on?" I was like panicking. I said, "There is something inside. I don't know. Like I don't know, there is something bizarre inside. And so he said, okay, let me come with you. But he cannot go inside because he's a man, but at least...
To the door or
yeah,
something.
to the door. So he managed to do like that, just to double check what's going on from the door. And I said, look at the corner. And he said, oh, it's pretty intense. Well, be careful. Like he didn't tell me what it is, but he felt like...
He felt something too.
Yeah, he said, I remember pretty intense, be careful. That's only what he said. And he was far, but he felt like there's something off and wrong about this person because the person was wearing an official jacket, Independent Electoral Commission, a green one, like all the staff. But surprisingly, this person was just waiting at the corner of a room when everybody was starting to open the ballot box, like prepare to welcome the 350 women from outside. So, because I meditate, and so I ask inner guidance, and I say, what this person is doing here? Because obviously this person was doing nothing, just waiting like that. And I start to look at the person, I say, you must be kidding me. This person is as tall as me, and I'm 5'11", yeah, which is pretty tall, right? I never met a woman as tall as me in Afghanistan, impossible. I mean, Afghan women are smaller. So I say, how is it possible that this woman is as tall as me? I mean, after all these years in Afghanistan. And I say, oh, she's got large shoulders. I mean, like literally. And she had a black scarf, and the black scarf like that. I say, well, usually women don't put the scarf like that. You know?
Comes down over the ears? Or?
Yes, they put scarf like that, but this scarf was more like that, like. So this is so bizarre. And the jacket was just like too small, obviously. The jacket was still here.
Did this person notice you looking at them?
And the person was just like that, looking in front, not looking at me. So I close my eyes, say, who is this person? I heard suicide bomber. I say, I just cannot believe it. So I run away again.
And,
yes.
And what happens to the bodyguard? He runs
Yeah, he ran after. I say, what's going on? I say, well, I guess it's a suicide bomber. I say, what? And my inner guidance say, you should better go back now.
Go back inside?
Yeah. And I said, of course, no. I was saving my life. And so the guidance say, now you go back and you look at him and you smile at him. It's not at her, at him.
So you figured it's a man for sure.
And so first I was keep on running away and running, but the inner guidance was screaming at me, like it's a question of time because they are going to open the polling station. Like so maybe we were 6:50. He wants to wait to the
flood like of people.
So he was waiting for the 350 women to come inside. He's not going to blow up himself when there is nobody inside.
Right.
Yeah. So it was a question of time. And so I stop, I pause, and I say, wait a minute, who is talking to me right now? Is not Amandine identity, wants to save her life. Right. There's something bigger than myself happening right now. And I went back, and I guess it's the most courageous act I did in my life because, I mean, honestly, I just didn't want to face this guy. And so I went, and he was so focused, he didn't look at me. So I have to position myself in front.
You stood right in front of him?
I have, because he didn't want, he was so focused like that. Because he was under drug. When I faced his eyes, I saw hell in his eyes. He was completely another world. Like I saw terror in his eyes. Obviously, he was not working for Independent Electoral Commission. He managed to get a jacket to pretend to be official, but he was not. And I face him. I look at him in the eyes. He didn't want to see my eyes, and I smile at him, and at the end he smiled at me. And surprisingly, I was so surprised. He had such a beautiful smile, horrible eyes, full of hatred, terror, and I see lost. Literally, I saw hell on earth. Like I saw he was under substance. But when he smiled, I understood on the energetical level, I connect to the heart. And I bring it back to his small consciousness. And he looked at me like I deplug him kind of. And he took out the jacket, put the jacket on the floor, the official jacket, opened the door, opened the gate where the 315 women, crossed the woman. So I was so shocked as he's going to blow himself there now. I was sure I made a mistake, so I screamed to a woman, "Be careful, it's going to blow up." I say that in English, they speak Farsi or Pashto, so I'm sure they didn't get it, but surprisingly he didn't, and he never come back.
He walked away.
He walked away. Yeah.
Oh man, my heart is pounding listening to this story.
Don't tell me. But I have to tell you something. After this story, I have nightmare for months. I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning with these horrible highs coming to me, and I call DHL, and I just left the country forever. Because I say I cannot impose that on my body, on my sanity, on my mental health anymore. I'm done. He managed to get me out of Afghanistan.
It's like you looked in the eyes of the devil.
Exactly. And until now, even I did many healing on myself. Like 5 years ago, I could have not said a story like that. I would have been crying and like, now I can be composed and speak with you and tell you the story, but you can still feel the emotion. I mean, like, it's funny because I teach mindfulness.
Yes.
And it was the biggest test ever to prove that mindfulness work, because I bring it back into his mindful present time, here and now, and it was actually a best test ever to put into practice what I learned, and mindfulness for myself to be fully here and now, and not running away. Yes. It was like a rite of passage.
Yes.
Rite of passage.
It was you have a doctorate now, right?
That's why I'm telling you, Afghanistan is my best master, right?
Yeah, it was your
best
master.
Best school ever.
Oh.
Best school ever if you want to be at the school of peace.
Yeah.
And every day you are facing war. So how you find peace in such a turmoil? Well, you have to deploy your inner tool to remain peaceful and to,
The exact quote that you said is that the more you transform yourself, the more you transform the world. Yes. So if you work on yourself, then you have the power to help others, which seems to be at the core of your message.
Yes.
And what we can all do to help heal the world, right?
Yes. Like the best gift you can offer to the world for world peace is to heal yourself. And by healing yourself, you will heal the world. That's very simple. So
people listening, and they don't know how to. Maybe they can't get up and go to India, or they're stuck in a job. They're working every day. They're looking after the kids. They're trying to pay all the bills, and maybe they have to be able to practice this in a different way. What do you say to them? How can they start? How can they get started with this personal journey?
Yes. What I believe, actually, the most important is you connect with what makes you alive first. Because I believe we are all born with inner gift to offer to the world. So if you like running, swimming, dancing, singing, playing, painting, go for it. Because that's the way you will connect to your soul. And that's the way what will make you alive and happy. And once you reach this level, what I say on vibration before, it's a level of consciousness. If you are so happy in what you're doing, you're not going to kill your neighbor, obviously. You are so focused on what makes you alive and happy. So that's one way. If you are suffering of depression or anxiety, I recommend meditation, because depression is all about you give power to your monkey mind, to your mental too much. You listen too much to your voice of negativity. We tell you you're not good enough, you are not strong enough, you're not capable of everything, you are lost, you are not worthy, whatever. If you give power to this voice, you will become this voice, which is a voice of unconscious. Meditation helps you to give the power of a conscious voice within you, which is the voice of your soul. So it's like literally a muscle that you need to practice every day. And by practicing every day, actually you will really give power to the conscious voice within you, and at the end you will just become this voice, and the other one will vanish. Is a question of vibration, as I said before, and which is the voice of the ego as well, the voice of the mental. So it's like you dissolve the ego just to allow the soul to fully express yourself, which is self-realization.
Beautiful. I ask all the guests 3 people that they would take in a car for a road trip. If you were driving across America and you could take 3 people from any time in history in the car with you, who you would take with you?
Oh, that's
for good conversation and a good time.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I will take maybe, actually, you know what? I feel I'm going to take Kumar with me. Kumar is my Nepali godson, which I met in the street of Kathmandu 12 years ago. He was a beggar, a street kid, orphan, sniffing glue at this time. And he went to the church and prayed Mary to find his mother. And the day after, he was doing a casting in the street to figure out who will be his mother. And it happened, it was me. And Kumar is facing some emotional turmoil now. He's 20. I put him in a boarding school, beautiful boarding school outside Kathmandu for street kids. And he got his 12 degrees diploma. And if we could receive his wisdom from Dalai Lama and Ama, I guess he will take...
It would be good to have him in the car.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, actually. He will go on the conscious path and not the unconscious path he's taking right now.
Wonderful. And what would you do with your last day on Earth? If you knew you were having your last day on Earth and you could make anything happen?
Yes.
What would you do with it?
I will do exactly what I'm doing right now, because I take every day like the last one. So what I will do, I will have this interview with you. I will do exactly what I'm doing on my daily basis.
Well, I feel honored that you would think to do that, and I think it's a wonderful message that we all need to be in the here and the now.
Yes.
Thank you for being on the BUCKiT podcast, and
thank you
for all the work that you do.
Thank you.
And be careful out there.
Yes.
May you be protected, and maybe we can talk again.
And come to visit me in Kabul. You will love it.
Well, you tell me it's okay to come. I'll come and visit you.
We bring Louise, right? She come with us.
I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. To see more great interviews, go to philkeoghan.com and subscribe to BUCKiT with Phil Keoghan wherever you get your podcasts. Please consider rating and reviewing us. And follow BUCKiT, that's BUCKiT with an IT, on Instagram and Facebook. Also, follow me on Twitter @PhilKeoghan. See you soon.